Welcome back to the Patrick Lane Show, where we talk about personal finance, investing, and real estate. And today we're going to talk about whether GameStop is diluting shares or whether or not it's a good idea for them to issue another 3.5 million shares of GameStop stock. So stick around for that. But before we get started, do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so that you get notified every time we post a video. And smashing that like button really helps us to push the videos out to other people who may be interested in this topic. So today we woke up to the first day of trading, and guess what? GameStop decided that they were going to put an announcement out that they're issuing another basically 3.5 million shares of GameStop stock. Now, you may recall just a few days ago, AMC came out with a similar announcement that they were going to issue a bunch of new stock. And I sort of questioned whether or not AMC should do that and whether it would result in dilution. Now, of course, AMC hasn't done it yet. It's just a proposal that the AMC stockholders have to vote on. So, quite frankly, it's up to the shareholders. Do the shareholders think that AMC should issue a bunch more stock, or do they think that that AMC should not? It's going to be voted on, and then the shareholders will make that decision with regard to AMC. With GME, today the announcement was 3.5 million shares, up to $1 billion worth of revenue raised. And frankly, I think that GME should be doing this and that it's only going to help GME shareholders going forward. Now, you know, there were some questions when it came to AMC because AMC was essentially going to double its outstanding shares by issuing that 500 million shares that they were talking about. And if you recall from that video, we talked about how AMC went from 100 million shares last year in the fall to a proposal of 1 billion shares if this proposal from AMC goes forth. And that, in my mind, didn't really work out to good shareholder value. But in the case of GME, they are talking about issuing 3.5 million shares up to $1 billion, which frankly is only going to cause, depending on the share price, of course, at the time, it's only going to cause a slight decrease in the value. If you talk about a dilution, with AMC, it was going to cut the value of the share in half, essentially. With GME, it's only going to take it down by a few percent, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5%, but it's going to allow GME to have that extra $1 billion in cash. And what are they going to use it for? Well, in the filing that they made announcing this change, and it is a change because they were already talking about doing 100 million shares, $100 million worth of shares, and this raises it up to $1 billion basically. So that change still is going to only be 3.5 million shares and a dilution of only a few percent. And the filing said very specifically that they're going to use it for the transition costs from the brick and mortar that we know that they are right now to the e-commerce giant that we hope they can become in the future by transitioning to the digital e-commerce space under the leadership of Ryan Cohen and the others on the board who are pushing forward with this revamped nature of GME. So how does it not dilute it? Well, first of all, it's their market cap is at 12 or 13 billion dollars, depending on where the stock price is. That's number one. Number two, issuing 3.5 million is not going to be doubling the amount of shares out there the way AMC was planning on doubling their outstanding shares. But it's going to allow them to have that $1 billion of cash on their balance sheet. Now, they could also just use it for general corporate uses, right, to fund ongoing expenses, operations. Or the other thing that they could possibly do is to take that $1 billion and pay down debt. Well, when you look at the types of debt that they have outstanding, they have some debt that is, in the hundreds of millions of dollars that they could take it and pay it off pretty easily and therefore clean up their balance sheet going forward. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have a GME that's got, right now on their balance sheet, they've got $500 million in cash on hand. Wouldn't it be nice to have them with, let's say, after they pay their debt off, which is only about $35 or $40 million in revolving debt right now, if they pay that off, they still have almost $1 billion in cash combined between their current cash on hand and what they would receive from issuing the new shares. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have that going forward to help Ryan Cohen in the transition of GameStop and its turnaround? I think it's going to be a very good thing for GameStop if they decide to do this. Now, of course, predictably, right, the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt sort of played in, and the shares dropped immediately right out of the gate as soon as the announcement was made. And, I think they were down about 12 or 13%, maybe 15% at one point during the day. Of course, all of the people from Wall Street Bets and the apes from GME got involved today and were buying the dip when it dropped down. And so that price went back up, and it's basically stayed flat now for the day. But, in the end, is it going to be a good thing for GME to issue these additional shares or not? Well, that, of course, has remained to be seen. It depends on what the executive leadership and what the board decides to do with it. But if they are really focused on turning things around at GameStop, then having this extra cash in hand, paying down some debt, possibly, acquiring some of these things out here that in the rumor mill that have been floating around. Maybe they combine with Gaming League, or maybe they do some Bitcoin or crypto maneuvers, that sort of thing. All of these things are talked about in the rumor mills and on Wall Street Bets and Reddit and all of that. But those are all options for GameStop when they've got a little bit of cash on hand and not much debt. And oh, by the way, an announcement that came out today as well, GameStop said that their sales year over year were up 11%. And so that's a really good indicator of where things are going to be headed in the future for GME. So having said all of that, do me a favor, tell me what you think down below. Is this going to be a good thing for GME that they're issuing these shares? Are you worried about dilution? Or do you think that raising this capital at the right time when the stock price is fairly high compared to what it was last summer is a good move for GME in helping it to transition to the e-commerce giant that we all think that it's going to? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. And after you do that, do me a favor, if you've gotten any education or entertainment out of this, smash the like button for me, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We really appreciate your help growing the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.